Another is, in his other either or book, and what that's about more, is to choose to live life as an ethical or spiritual being, or to flee from that, to numb ourselves. Those are the choices. These are kind of binary choices. And he talked about it, and when Kierkegaard talks about an ethical life, he means a sense of living a life based on a commitment to principle. And remember that, because we're going to work with that a little bit later and also tomorrow. Living a life based on a commitment to principle. And he talked about to be spiritual is to open oneself to the fundamental ground of one's being. And he meant by that fundamental ground of your being, this relationship to the transcendent, the relationship to God, which is the basis of selfhood. He felt that we couldn't become ourselves if we weren't aware of that fundamental relationship with something greater than ourselves. That acknowledging that actually helped us become ourselves, not escape ourselves. And we weren't our true selves unless we were in relationship with something greater, to that transcendent or God. And he also said, this is interesting, to be a self, it's kind of mysterious, but I think you'll get the eloquence of it. He said, this is a quote, to be a self is to relate oneself to oneself through relating oneself to another. So we also felt like we couldn't become ourselves, be ourselves, unless we're in relationship with others, that actually helps us define ourselves. How many of you kind of admit that that's probably true? You know, we need that. And ultimately for him, that primary relationship was the relationship with the infinite, or a relationship with God. For him, it was God as mediated through the life and teachings of Christ, that's how he experienced that. So, and Kierkegaard had some also writings on love, a book called Love, and he talked about that relationship is best expressed in brotherly love, so that we actually can experience our selfhood through this brotherly love and this connection with other people. So he combined this all together, but his main thing, what he's saying, is that we really need to make that choice. Will we choose to become ourselves, which for him also meant a connection with the infinite, a connection with God, or will we flee from becoming ourselves? All right, can you hold this Kierkegaard dude here, okay? So tell somebody next to you, what did Kierkegaard say? Well, he said, no. Try to put that in your own words, what Kierkegaard was saying the choice was. Okay, who is the dude we're talking about right now? Kierkegaard. Very good, Kierkegaard. And what did this dude say? Numb out or become be yourself or numb out. And what did he say helped us become ourselves? Others. Relationship with others and God, Spirit, whatever that is. Yeah. You did very good. That was excellent. God, you guys are, everybody has to clap. You have to clap. This is good. We really want to affirm your intellectual capacities here in this thinking. So there's one other, then we're going to ground this in different ways. So how many of you have heard of Jean-Paul Sartre? All right, great. We're going to talk about Sartre for a minute. So another existentialist. And Sartre kind of put this together. What he talked about is that if we make that commitment, then what happens is that we make of our life a life project that we call the life quest. And we've been teaching you the tools of the life quest throughout this weekend, and we will more tomorrow. That making our life a project, not just something just happens to us, not just something we kind of bumble through the days and things happen, but that we actually, through this commitment, this choice that Kierkegaard's talking about, that we make of our life a project that's powerful and defined by us, and that we make ourselves in that way, that we create that in that way. And that this life project is what we would call that's a life that's focused on this choice to have more in life, to have a sense of purpose, to really have that become who we can become. And he talked about that if we don't choose to become ourselves in that way, if we don't choose that path of authenticity, if we don't choose to become who we could become, that we are exercising what he called bad faith. That bad faith is that not choosing, that choosing to be inauthentic, that choosing to not be who we could be, he named as bad faith. Not like a moral thing, but that recognizes that choice. So that we have this possibility of becoming who we could become. And that's what we want to look at, and through that we determine who we could become, we determine our purpose through this choice the one decision that I call it. Kierkegaard's either or. Purity of heart is to will one thing, this existential choice. And the point is that that helps us become who we could become. It helps us become ourselves. It helps us fulfill our potential to discover what that is. So, and I want to look at this, how this is spiritual. And I want to relate that in that way, that it's not just this transcendent thing above it all, but it's really like making that commitment, participating in active partnership with the great other, however you might see that it's a choice, a fundamental life choice that you make, that you are addicted in the root of the word, that you give yourself over to something that has meaning for you, something that matters to you. You make that choice, you make that commitment, and out of that you become yourself. You guide yourself on a life project, that there's your whole perception of who you are and who you could become is shifted through this way of being. And this leads to spiritual development and maturity, as we're talking about it. And that Kierkegaard talks about, it really demands faith. That faith, and it's a very difficult way to live. It's a lot easier to go to the defaults and just pop the popcorn and watch TV. It's much easier, but it's not as fulfilling. We're going to work with this some more, but you ready to go to the movies since the popcorn smell is in the room? I think it's appropriate. So let's look at this. Now we're going to take this. This is also from Joan of Arcadia. Joan of Arcadia is modeled after what? Joan of Arc. What do we know about Joan of Arc? Young girl who... Yeah, so who heard the voice of God, who told her everything, what to do, and there's more of the political scene with that, but she was someone who had a mystical relationship. Mystical just means having a direct personal relationship with God, not something that's mediated through other people or other things, but a personal experience, and look at this in that way. But this is early in the Joan of Arcadia, where she's just meeting this great other. So let's see what we've got here and see what you can see, how this looks spiritual through what we're talking about.